Masechet Sanhedrin Daf Yotzet Amud Aleph, 14 lines down. Kishu Menachem, when the Kohen Gadol would comfort other mourners, he would pass them by with the assistant Kohen Gadol on the side. Tamaran, Kishu Avar Beshura, when the Kohen Gadol passes in line Le'achim Ta'achrim to comfort others, Seran Umashuach She'avar Bimino. The assistant Kohen Gadol, the Sagan Kohen Gadol, and the Kohen Gadol who may have been the substitute Kohen Gadol, which means if the regular Kohen Gadol is incapacitated and the vice Kohen Gadol becomes Kohen Gadol, let's say the regular Kohen Gadol became Tameh, then when the Kohen Gadol comes back to his position, the Kohen Gadol, the interim Kohen Gadol, the one of it that took over, is now in like a limbo. He's considered the anointed Kohen Gadol, but he doesn't serve in any capacity because he can't be regular Kohen Gadol because the regular one's there, and he can't be a regular Kohen now because you only go up in Kiddushan, not down. So those two Kohanim, the assistant and the anointed, are to the right. The head of the family, the mourners, and all the people to comfort them are on the left. When those standing and comforted by others, and all the assistants to his right, and the head of the family and others are to the left. If the Kohen Gadol is mourning, the anointed Kohen Gadol does not come to comfort him. Why? The regular Kohen might be upset if the guy, that one comes because Savar Kahadibe, because maybe the anointed one who they don't obviously, there's a little bit of competition between them. Maybe he's happy that I'm suffering in his loss. We don't read things from his Braita. In our Mishnah, we mentioned that the Memune, the appointed Kohen Gadol, is the same thing as what we call the deputy Kohen Gadol, the Sigan, because it's the same halacha. We learn from here that the mourners stand in the same spot while the people comfort them pass in front of them. And also we learn from here that the mourners stand to the left and to the left are the people who are comforting them. Okay. Initially, it used to be that the mourners would stand in the same spot, and the people who would comfort them would pass in front of them. Was about two families one time in Yerushalayim, and they were fighting with each other. This one said, I'm going first, and this said, I'm going first. Therefore, to avoid these problems, they said, you know what, let the comforters stand in the same spot, let the mourners pass by. They actually switched the minhag back to regular, where the mourners stay in the same place and people pass in front of them. A woman should not walk in the street with a child behind her, because the story that happened where the lady was walking in front of her kid and someone kidnapped her kid, and when she turned around and realized, she started yelling. They told her, "Oh yeah, she's in this house over here," and the people over there violated her. Women, while they're in the outhouse, back then they had an outhouse. People used to walk in there at all times of the night and day. So at nighttime, especially, they'd have if two women should go together, they should talk. So there's no yahud if a man has to go at the same time, and it also protects them. Amar Rab Menashe Bar'ud. She'ilit et Rabbi Yoshia bar Abba bet Elim doesn't ask him a question. Remember, he told me, "En shurab utam asra benetam." A line of comforters has to be at least 10 people. Ben Avilim ben Minyan. The mourners themselves are not included in that number. It has to be 10 other people. Ben Shavim Mudim v'Cholam bring whether or not, and also we're posek either way, whether or not the mourners are standing and people passing them. Ben Shavim Mudim v'Cholam or whether or not the comforters are standing and the mourners are passing them. Okay, Shimon Achim is comforted. They say, "We are your kapara." He asked. When the Kohen Gadol is comforting others, what does he tell them? Tashma said, they tell the Kohen Gadol tells them, you should be comforted. When does he say it? If you want to say when others are comforting Kohen Gadol, why would he say, you know what, you should be comforted? What, they didn't lose anybody. You're cursing them that they should be comforted for a future loss. Nahasha Kamalo, it sounds like you're cursing them. Rather, when the Kohen Gadol is comforting others, he should tell me you should be comforted. Now we see it from here. Okay, the king can't judge. Fascinating halachot coming up. Amar said, the only time that they can judge are regular kings of Bnei Israel. But the kings that come from the family of David Melech, they can judge and be judged. Mentions that he was going to be judged, that he was going to judge. And obviously, if you can't judge him, you can't judge others. Meaning, from the fact that he was able to judge, we know that he can be judged, as we know. You can't judge others until you correct yourself. So therefore, David Melech, if he was able to judge, he must have been able to be judged as well. How come we don't love regular kings of Bnei Israel? There's a story. The slave of King Yanai killed somebody. Amar lehu b'Shimon Meshitach Chachamim. Shimon Meshitach was a very powerful rabbi. Told Chachamim, "Tenu enechem bon denu." Let's bring the slave and judge him. Shachule Avdar Katan Ashad. Chachamim sent a message to King Yanai. Your slave killed someone. Shadibulahu, he sent the slave. Go get judged. Shachule Ta'ana Tanamid Lahachad. Because the pasuk says, "V'ud ba'alav v'maratura yavol ba'al hashor v'yamal hashro." They said, "No, 1 second, King Yanai, you have to come and be judged also, because the same way your ox would kill, you have to be there. So to your slave." Ati came. Amar Shimon Shadach told him, King Yanai, stand up and they'll testify against you. You're not standing only in front of us, you're standing in front of God. Amar Yanai told him, okay. King Yanai told him, okay. I don't believe you. Do your peers, judges, stand with you that they're going to testify against me? Turned to the judges on his right. They couldn't meet his gaze. They were scared. They turned to the judges on the left. They also looked down. Told them, you guys are just, you're overthinking things. May the master of thoughts come and attack and punish you. Right away, Gabriel Malach came and he buried them, and they died. But therefore they said, therefore a judge can't judge, a king can't judge or be judged, and testify or be testified against, because where people might change the truth because they're scared. Okay, next, a king. He can't do chalitza, and you can't do chalitza, and he can't do chalitza, and you can't do chalitza to his wife. And then he 1 second. Even according to the and Rabbi Yehuda said that you can, if he wants to do yibum or chalitza. The Gemara says 1 second, how's it possible? We see by Nasi, if he wants to be mochel in his kavod, he can. But a king cannot be mochel his kavod. You have to respect him, because you have to have a fear of kings. So how can a Yehuda say it's mutar? How can he be mochel his kavod? Gemara says no. Mitzvah shani. Do a mitzvah is different, and that's why he's allowed to do yibum and chalitza according to Bidah. The enosin, you can't marry king's widow, that we see from the pasuk. And Rabbi says you can, because pasuk says Hashem gave David the Shaul's wives. The Gemara says Tanya, but it says Amru Rabbi That doesn't mean he actually married King Shaul's wives. Nashim Hariyot Lo Bet Tamelech, referring to that he was in a given woman from the king's household that were ra'ui to marry him. Manu Merav Michal, daughters of Shaul. Gemara says how can David marry two sisters while they're alive? And then he said, Michal Ahar Metat Merav Nsa'a. He only married Michal after Merav passed away. Says, David's marriage to Michal, Merav rather, was mistaken. What happened? When David wanted to marry Michal, Shaul told him, yeah, you want to marry him? Bring me 100 foreskins, 100 orlot of Pilishtim, their enemy at the time, and I'll let you marry her. And he brought it. So he said, let me marry her. My time would have learned from there. Amar Lev he said, Michal ishti v'lo merav ishti. David ben said, give me Michal, my wife, which is excluding Merav. Makchitut was the mistake to Merav. When Shaul was looking for someone to challenge Goliath, he said, I'll give him my daughter and big wealth. Azal Katle, David went and killed Goliath, no big deal. Shaul told David, 1 second. I promised you money. You have a debt. I owe you a debt. And the halacha is that if you try to marry a woman by a debt, and if a woman owes you money, you have to marry a woman by giving her something. If a woman owes you money, this is a little crash course of Masechet Kiddushin. If a woman owes you money, you can't waive the debt as the Kiddushin money. You have to physically give her something. So therefore Shaul said, you know what? David, you're not married to Merav. Azal Yahavad Adriel. So Shaul then gave Merav to Adriel to marry her. Okay. Amar the Shaul then told David, if you want me to give Michal, go give me 100 foreskins of the Pelishtim. Azal he ended up bringing it. Ouch. Amar the Shaul told him, you know, now I owe you money for the Shaul's for killing Goliath, and I also have a piruta, a minimal amount of money, which is what the 100 foreskins are worth. Shaul savar milveh upruta ta'atel milveh. Shaul held that this famous machloket, if you owe somebody a lot of money, a debt, large debt, or if I'm giving you a piruta, a minor amount, whatever is the minimum amount of money in like 10 cents, then when I'm trying to marry that person with this amount of money, am I having it in mind on the loan, therefore it won't work, the marriage, or am I having it in mind on the piruta, which would make it work? So Shaul says that if you are trying to marry someone with the loan and piruta, it doesn't work because you only have in the mind on the loan. Therefore, Shaul was not married. Shaul said that David's not married to Micha. But David said, David said, no, if you try to marry a woman with a loan and a piruta, you're having in mind on the piruta, and according to David, he's married to Micha. Giving them a different answer. Really, everybody holds that you have in mind on the peruta, and therefore you should be married. What's the machloket? Shaul savar lo haziv lo midi. Shaul said these foreskins that he brought is not even worth the peruta because they're useless. But David savar haziv the kalbe. David held no, you can use them to feed them to your dogs and cats, and therefore they're worth the peruta, and therefore he's married. So according to Yossi, how does he learn give me my wife, Michal, which excluded Merav? How does he learn the pasuk? Yossi goes according to his opinion because he holds that the pasukim you can mix them up. How? He David took two daughters, two sons of Ritzpah. But Hamisha ben Michal Asher Yalad Adriel He took five sons of Michal that she gave birth through Adriel. So the Gemara says, Shaul didn't give Michal to Adriel, he gave her to Palti, the son of Laish, the Tiva. Shaul natat Michal b'to Eshet David Palti ben Laish. The Makish he Shered Merav Adriel Michal Palti. It must be the same type of marriage concept as the comparison is the comparison Merav and Adriel is the comparison of Michal and Palti. Why? Magjid Michal Palti just like Michal wasn't supposed to marry Palti because Michal was married to David Melech. So too, Merav's marriage to Adriel also was considered a sin because she also was married to David. Rabbi Shimon also says also says that five sons of Michal, daughter of Shaul, also sounds like she wasn't married to David because as the grandsons of Shaul. Amar Lacha, Rabbi Yeshua, did Michal have these children? Merav had it. Where it says Merav Yalda Michal Gadla, Merav gave birth to them, Michal raised them. Therefore, we call them Michal's children. Whoever raises an orphan in their home, the Torah treats it as if you raised them. Fun fact: this week's parasha. Some people say that Serach Bat Asher was adopted. Father told me this Hidush. She wasn't even really. Asher found her and adopted her. Okay, and therefore she was called the daughter of Asher because he raised her. Next, Rabbi Hanina, different proof that if you raise somebody, it's considered you gave birth to them. Everybody said, son's born to Naomi. This came from Ruth. What are you talking about? Not Naomi. Ruth gave birth to him. Naomi raised him. Therefore, it's considered Naomi's child. Different proof. Right, so what's going on? Who's Mered? Mered is a collector from Teklev. Why is he called Mered? Because Shemarad Ba'asat Miraglim, he rebelled. He went against the other Miraglim, the spies. He didn't go with them when the bad thing they did. The B'tiah gave birth to Moshe, but Yocheved gave birth to Moshe. Yocheved gave birth to Moshe, but B'tiah raised him. Therefore he was called Moshe by Moshe, which is Batia's name. Be'ezem Yaakov didn't prove it. Alta bezro amecha bnei Yaakov Yosef Sela. Yosef yadad that Yosef gave birth to all 12 Shabbatim. No, but Yaakov yadad. Yaakov gave birth to them. Yaakov yadad Yosef kilkel. Yaakov gave birth to them, had them, but Yosef was the one who fed them in this week's parasha during the hunger. Therefore, they're considered Moshe's children, which is a big reason why we give tzedakah and stuff because you get major zechiyot. Yonatan. Whoever teaches Torah to the son of his friend, you gave birth to him. This is the children of Aaron and Moshe. Then it also says that these are the names of Aaron's sons. Aaron teach you that Aaron had these children, but Moshe taught them Torah. Therefore, they're considered Moshe's children. Therefore, Why would you see that Yaakov freed Abraham? Weird Lashon HaPasuk. Maravi, that teaches you Yaakov freed Abraham from the troubles and the headaches of having children. Teach you the Yaakov who had the 12 Shvatim, quote unquote, saved Abraham from that trouble. Now the Gemara has the question, but Ketib Palti, the marriage of Michal to Palti is confusing because sometimes it's called Palti, sometimes it's called Uktiv Paltiel. Sometimes it's called Paltiel. So the Gemara says, doesn't make sense. Amar Rabbi Yochanan Palti Shmuel. His name was really Palti. And what happened? Why is he called Paltiel? Shepiletom el mina avera. Hashem saved him from sin. He never lived with Michal. How did he stop? How did Palti stop himself from sinning with Michal? He stuck a sword between him and himself and her in the room. Whoever tries to have relations with the other shall be stabbed. But it sounds like David took back Michal. It sounds like her husband, Palti, went with her. But if they never were together, why was he called husband? He still acted like a husband in a mannered way. He treated her well, and he treated the way she deserved to be treated. He treated her as a husband. And like when Palti was returning her, he was crying. Why was he crying if he was never with Michal like that? He was crying because he was no longer able to champion himself over the mitzvah that he was holding back from himself. They reached Bahurim. The reason why it used the word Bahurim by Palti and Michal to teach you that they were like bachelors that never were together. Big chidush that Palti is able to control himself. And now we're going to talk about it. Yosef was Yosef's mitzvah of holding back from Potiphar's wife was small compared to Boaz. Boaz was small compared to Palti. Why? Yosef's overcoming Potiphar. My Vayilafet doesn't mean the word Vayilafet, that root, right? So what happened? Yosef controlled himself with Potiphar. What happened with Boaz? Boaz woke up and Ruth, the beautiful unmarried Ruth, was laying next to him in the field. So the Pasuk used Vayilafet. What does that mean? It basically teaches that he was very aroused that she was there and he still controlled himself even though she was an unmarried woman in the field no one would see. But still Boaz was small compared to Palti. Like we said earlier, Palti lived with Michal in the same room. People assumed they were married and still they didn't touch her. What does that mean? People who acted well, this is referred to Yosef and Boaz. Who's on top of them all? Because he was better than both of them. Grace and beauty, that is fake. Is referring to Yosef. True fearing God, that is Pati ben Laish. He was better than them. And that it's the generation of Moshe was good, but not so awesome. Who is considered the most God-fearing? Because we learn around how much Hizkiah taught Torah, that even though Yeshua and Moshe taught so much Torah, Hizkiah taught more Torah than both of them. Yeshua is referring to Hizkiah. What does that refer to? It's referring to Yeshua Yudah ben Rilai. Why was he such a big tzaddik? They were so poor because learning Torah, 6 students would have to cover themselves with one blanket and still learn Torah. Amen.